Hi, today we're going to be talking about 3 lessons I've learned while on set. And you're going to want to stick around to the end. The last one, it's something. It's really, or you could just skip to the end. Or you could just skip the whole video. Yes, that's right, we're back. We're back with another video about directing. Now, in the interest of viewer retention, I'm not going to tell you what those 3 lessons are until we get there. But what I can tell you is that for each lesson, we'll talk about when it works and when it doesn't. Life is complicated like that, so don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Lesson number 1, everything is problem solving. That's right, I'm sure you already know that everything on set is some form of problem solving. That's lighting problems and blocking problems, acting problems, and even down to the DNA, the very conception of the spot is to solve some corporate problem. Or if it's a short film, solve some self-therapeutic problem, which you should see someone about. But I think that filmmaking is much more about cleverness than creativity. The thing that's going to get you far is your ability to execute and deliver, and that is all about solving problems. But I'm here to tell you, know when to stop solving the problem. What the heck? What the heck? Why? Well, 1, is it even your problem to solve? Is it? Could someone else be solving this problem? 2, are you just solving the problem because it feels like progress, because it's an identifiable goal in front of you, and you're like, yes, if we fix the thing, we are moving forward in our day? Or is it even a problem worth solving? So many times on set, I've fallen into this problem-solving sinkhole where I'm working on something that will make life 5% easier or a shot 2% better. Sometimes it just feels good to be working on a problem because there's focus there, there's a direction, there's a clear goal. And the alternative is the unknown, is making hard decisions. And hey, it can be very intimidating, but look at it another way. These problems are there to help you. They have been helping you this whole time. These problems and limitations, the things that you have to avoid, have probably made your work better this entire time, even back to before you were lighting. Instead of solving the problem of lighting, you just had to work with the sunlight that you had, and your stuff probably looked pretty good because the sun's a pretty good light. That is an example of letting the problem just be a problem and working around it. I mean, what does a production even look like without problems or limitations? You know, when you just resort only on your creativity, your one vision, I mean, is it really that good? Are you that good? And so many times on set, I've thanked myself for backing down from solving a problem. Scenes that were cut because of time, or camera setups that were ridiculously ambitious that we had to then break it down and keep it simple. And so with problem solving, take a step back and ask yourself, is it better to go through, around, or head in a different direction altogether? You might want to think about that before you become a director. Okay, so lesson number 2, stop doing everything yourself. Okay, so I mentioned this before in my last directing video, but as you mature, you need to be more cognizant of where you're actually needed on set. Do you need to be moving that light or adjusting that camera setting? Should you even be touching those things? You're only one person in one place, and if you're unreachable by your crew because you're off here and there, you're probably slowing the production down. And so you realize you have a crew to do these things. And really, if you insert yourself too much into their workflow, you're never gonna know if they're actually a good fit for the team because you're micromanaging them too much. So over time, you learn to let your crew do what they were hired to do, and they're good at it. Really good at it. But everyone wants to give 100%. Your lighting team wants everything to be 100% perfect. Your production designer wants every prop in the perfect place. And if you had enough time and money, you could let them do that, but you don't. And so you are at the control desk and you get to decide where your resources are allocated. Sometimes you have to cut the lighting team short at 95% perfect. And so really, it's the same lesson that you've had to apply to yourself where, your teams can get stuck in these problem-solving sinkholes where, they're caring for fractions of the frame that honestly, in post, no one's gonna be looking at. And that's why they're the best. They know how to make literally every pixel perfect, but in the end, you have to know what are the important pixels, okay? Where are people gonna be looking at? And look, I know before I talked about the 10% on set is just working with the actors, and that's true, that is solely your responsibility, but you have this overarching responsibility to dial everyone in, to make all the teams work towards the same goal. And as a director, you know the final product more than anyone else. You have the information you need to make those hard decisions. And that can be hard when you have a cinematographer or a gaffer who are much more experienced than you, but you still have to tell them, hey, let's move on. And in the end, getting the shot is probably the most important thing that you can do, and it's what you were hired for. Hey, just fix it in post anyways. Lesson number 3, make the thing before you make the thing. Gosh, all this talk of problems and pressures, it sure makes set life pretty stressful, huh? Well, back in the day, I would show up on set and wing it. I was young and I was still learning, and I couldn't articulate or even plan for what I thought made a good shot. You know, my gut was a faster learner than my brain, and so I'd have to show up on set and feel it out, you know, feel what made the shot look good. And that sort of on-set improvisation led to some pretty decent work. Sort of, for its time. But now on set, 10 hours will fly by in what felt like 10 minutes before. You don't have time to improvise and figure things out like you used to. The entire production is this Jenga tower that you and your first AD have to navigate, and you can't just be willy-nilly thrashing the crew left and right as you figure your shit out. So how do you recapture that improvisation, that exploration? Well, you shoot it. You shoot the whole thing. You pick up a camera and some friends or coworkers or literally anyone that will still talk to you, and you shoot the thing like you used to make an old student film or pick up a camcorder with your siblings if you got any of those. And so yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. Pretty much every commercial spot that I've made, I first made a lo-fi proof of concept, I call it an animatic, on an iPhone. You know, usually no lighting, just me and my friends or coworkers, and we would shoot the whole thing out. And it's a way to take the spot from being a script, which everyone has a different idea about how it's gonna look or how it's gonna be paced, and you have jokes written down maybe, but are they actually funny? How does the pacing actually work in a 30 or 15-second spot? And so an animatic can test all of these things, and you get so much intuition from being behind the camera and being in the timeline. You know, you get to test everything, and it gives you a lot of confidence going into the shoot, knowing that you've done it before and you've gotten the chance to explore and try out different things in a really low stakes environment. And it also serves as the prime source of truth between you and the production company, agency, and client. And so everyone knows what the spot is going to feel like because of this animatic. So yeah, making the thing, making an animatic, it's super helpful, but don't let having an animatic stop you from making a great spot. And so what does that mean? Well, sometimes in the chaos of set, someone will come up to you with a question about something and you're just like, oh yeah, let's just do what we did in the animatic. You know, what worked then, let's translate that to work on set. You know, but sometimes by relying so much in that safe space of, okay, you know, what worked then, all those decisions that you made then, you know, how much of those even apply to where you're at on set? You're surrounded by, you know, talented technicians and crew people and actors. Are you limiting their potential by sticking so strictly to the animatic? And so is there an opportunity for something better? So knowing this, build in some time into your shooting schedule to explore and improvise. You know, maybe your DP finds a new angle or gets some insert shots that save you in the edit, or maybe your actor improvises a line that's funnier than whatever copywriter number 11 wrote. And by being smart, by being clever, you can anticipate this lack of time, and you know, you have a good plan, you have a solid animatic, and so you know you're gonna get what you need, but you have a little bit of protected time just to see what else you can get. That can be really hard. That can be really hard because the industry, it encourages guarantees and execution, okay? You can't try new ideas. I want you to do the thing that you've already done 10 times before. But, you know, if you're smart, if you're clever, if you're good at building relationships and building trust, you know, you can create these moments where you get to feel the craft again, where you get to improvise and give yourself the freedom to be informed by your preparation, but not burdened by your preparation, right? So that's really been the theme in this video, is anxiety and courage. You know, anxiety pushing you to prepare for every problem and how to solve them and anticipate them, and courage to sometimes step away and move the production forward in a new direction. Anxiety that pushes you to create a really detailed, animatic. You can anticipate what the entire thing's gonna look like, and courage sometimes to throw caution to the wind and try something new. That's some would call it courage. Some would call that courage. Others would maybe call that stupid. Or you can just go over budget. People love that. Just try that. Try going over budget. See what happens. That's courage right there. Really, if you're not blowing the budget, then that means you could have tried harder. That means every problem is your fault. If you blow the budget, well, then you did everything you could. So I think that's gonna do it for today's video. And you made it to the end because of my little trick. I didn't tell you what you were gonna get into, and then we got into it. And now you made it here. And so that's great. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And let's talk about what we should talk about next. Well, that's been me and you together for this moment in time. Go forth and create new moments without me, and come back next time for a new video. Bonus content. I actually just wanted to show you gear vid. It's a gear vid all of a sudden. I actually have this little overkill iPhone rig where really, I can just drop the iPhone in. I have an iPhone 15 Pro, just because the Apple log is nice. And just this rig is literally just to get this little variable ND on the front here. And that way you can control exposure in a really quick way. And so really low barrier to entry to picking this up and shooting a proof of concept. And sometimes I will use like a lav mic in order to just, audio I think is so important, and especially for like things like, line delivery and legibility. If you want to really feel the spot, I think a lav helps, but there's a lot of labs out there these days. They're crazy. So yeah, that's the iPhone animatic filmmaking kit. Okay, stay tuned. You never know what you're gonna get at the end of these videos. I've always got like a little surprise. And let's cut. That's a cut. Cut. I'm a director.